Hello, everyone, and today I would like to discuss the topic of self-help, or the entire genre of life advice. And there's something very paradoxical about it because every event and outcome in your life is predetermined. You cannot make any of your own choices. Your choices are predetermined by prior causal forces, and so there's actually nothing you can do to change your life around. And so when people tell men, not just men, but men especially, they'll tell men that you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You can do anything if you simply set your mind to it, or if you work really hard, or just the common cliche of the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, right? If you just change your mindset, you can accomplish anything. Well, this is complete nonsense, because the only way you can actually change your mindset would be to do a brain surgery, right? You'd have to get a brain transplant, which means they're gonna have to take your brain out of your skull and swap it in with someone else's brain, right? That's the only way you can change your personality, right? So, and I don't know why you would agree to do that, because I think you would lose all your memories and you would lose your sense of identity, and you would just die. I mean, I don't know what. So, and so the next quote unquote best thing, right, is just, okay, you're gonna go to the therapist, and you're like, you ask your therapist, how can I improve my life, right? They're gonna either they give you some useless cliche advice most of the time, right? Or they just give you drugs and then so they can modify your neurochemistry. I mean, I don't, but that's not even you. If your brain isn't even producing those chemicals, then how is it? Then now you're reliant on an external source for a sense of health, for a sense of happiness, I guess. I mean, so it's very strange. And then, why do all these motivational gurus end up sick? Look, Jordan Peterson's all about, taking self-responsibility. And I like Jordan Peterson, but he constantly has health problems. I swear, this guy had to go on a carnivore diet because apparently, he was dying on any other diet, right? He was, I think he ate an olive or something, and he ended up with some terrible illness where he couldn't even sit down, right? Or apparently Jordan Peterson put himself into a coma. He voluntarily entered a coma, right, to mitigate his benzo withdrawal. Right, so why would you do that? It doesn't even make sense. Why would you put yourself in a coma to deal with a drug problem? I don't. It makes no sense. But to be fair, okay, it's not his fault, right? These are predetermined events. He doesn't have the choice of doing anything else. So, but the whole idea of self-responsibility is very superfluous. It really, I mean, you're just lying to men. You're telling a man, oh, you can be a different way. You can behave differently. No, you cannot. Your timeline is fixed in advance of your birth. Right, there's no free will, and your life will always be one way and will never be another. Right, every outcome in your life, every experience you have is predetermined, and if you have an experience, it means that it was inevitable and immutable. So any experience that you have and all the experiences you have must be one way and never another. Right. And if you're a materialist, and you're a determinist, then I don't know how you can reject this. So. And obviously, if you're not a determinist and you're not a materialist, then you're probably contradicting science. And then you have to, justify why we should trust this concept of psychology at all. Psychology as a science, it's complete fraud. They just installed this mental virus into your head called normalcy, right? That's what therapists do. They're paid to make you normal. Why do they want you to be normal? Because normal means productive. And what does productive mean? It means you will serve the bureaucracy. So you're going to work really hard, right? They're going to harvest your mental energy. And why do they do this, right? We don't actually know why. We don't know why they need to harvest your energy. But the bureaucracy says they must. So you have to listen to the bureaucracy, and you have to be normal, right? Because you are a slave. You are just a slave to the bureaucracy. If they want to steal your money and call it taxation, then that's what they can do. If they want to, print money out of thin air and devalue your money, that they can do this. If they want to send you to be drafted to die in the Iran war, they can do this, right? You are nothing, right? So you need to man up. You need to take therapy lessons, all right, so that you can die in an arbitrary war, right? That's your purpose in life, right? So we need to begin with the first axiom of any life advice or self-help, right? It has to be the axiom of cognitive energy. Where you can see cognitive energy, we can call it mental energy. Right, and I'll call it me because I think this is catchy. And my shift key is broken, so I have to use another key. I have to use the control key to capitalize everything. So like my shift key sometimes, like, look, I'm trying to use my shift key and it just doesn't work. It literally never, like look, I'm trying to use my shift key to make up brackets and it's not working, right? But if I use my alt key, because like I use like power tools so that, no, power toys, right? Microsoft Power Toys, so that I can capitalize letters, right? But I can't. My shift key is broken, so I have to use a different letter. So it really compromises my typing speed. But anyway, so the concept of mental energy and cognitive energy, right? What is this? Right? It's your so every brain has a limited capacity for complex thought and emotional processing, right? And so the goal of life is not to improve yourself. The goal of life is not to make the most money or whatever. The correct, at a bare minimum, or if you want it to be rational, right? The goal of your life should be to preserve and to increase your mental energy, right? To increase and preserve ME, right? So, right, so your brain has limited energy. You'll realize that, if you're doing a lot of exams, if you do a lot of homework, if you do a lot of studying, right, you do a lot of complex cognitive intellectual labor, your brain is going to be tired. And then you do too much, right? You work too hard, right? You're stressing out too much, and it becomes hard on your emotional state, right? And so when you have a lot of problems going on, right? Because life is really just a set of continuous problems you have to solve, and that, takes a toll on you mentally, right? And so the consequence is that if you work too hard, you will be tired. You'll get tired. If you keep continuing to work hard, then at that point you will become sick. You will become bedridden, and that's why all of these like fake motivational gurus, right? All of them. Why do all of them end up with debilitating diseases? Why do all these rich people, these hardworking people, these motivational speakers, these motivational gurus, these so-called people with great lives, and they're like, oh, come to me for life advice. I'm going to tell you to be a high-functioning, very productive person. You're going to be very ambitious, right? You're going to be a high performer. All this nonsense, right? All of them end up with terrible diseases because they work too hard, right? They waste their mental energy, and then they get cancer, right? And then they think, oh, I got cancer because I ate a salad, right? They just make up, and then they make up some crazy diet myth because they're retarded, right? They think it's because, they just have the symptoms of burnout, right? But they think, it's because I ate, one slice of white bread, and that's why I got cancer. Or like there was mold 10 meters away from me, and that mold like jumped into my nose, and that caused me to have some kind of infection, and now I can't even walk, right? Like my back is broken. Like I can't even, like Mike Tyson's back, right? It's broken, right? And it's like he can't even walk to the hospital, right? He's limping, and like he becomes mentally disabled. He becomes bedridden. Like the dude's like trying to go on a jog, and then his knee breaks. He falls over. He just dies. Like the dude can't even pick up a 1 pound dumbbell anymore, right? He becomes so weak. Like he just has debilitating illness. And he thinks it's because he ate an olive, or because, there was mold in his house somewhere, right? And he inhaled it at some point, right? And now he has cancer, right? I mean, I think that's what happened to Chris Williamson. Like why did he have health problems? It's because he works too hard. It's because he thinks, being productive is the purpose of life, whatever that means, right? So like all these life guru people, all these like motivational speakers, all of them are frauds, man. It's disgusting. Like, how do these people sleep at night, right? And so your life should be about preserving cognitive energy, right? So imagine if you had unlimited unlimited ME. Just imagine, because it's not possible for, because human brains are limited. If you had unlimited mental energy, well, it would be like you're omniscient, or like you could never run out of mental energy to keep gathering information, to keep being creative, to keep achieving your goals. So if you had unlimited mental energy, like you wouldn't be omnipotent, but you would be very powerful, and you would always feel a strong sense of mental health, because you would be energetic and virulent, right? You would be vital, right? And this is very good, right? This is very good compared to when you have low ME. If you have low ME, right, it's like having low testosterone, right? You're just gonna be miserable, right? Like so often in life, you have to guard your mental energy because other people will try to harvest it from you. Like some people have conspiracy theories that politicians are reptiles, or like there's some satanic hidden network that's running the world, and they want to harvest your soul for your energy, right? For their iniquitous purposes. And no, maybe they're right, at least metaphorically, because people do want to use your energy for their purposes. And I mean, if you don't even know what you want, then why are you letting other people sacrifice your energy, right? So the first rule of self-help, self-improvement, should be to preserve and gain mental energy, right? Should be self-preservation first, and everything else is secondary in importance, right? So now let's look at the common therapeutic psychological advice that people give. And then we're gonna basically invert it and show that most of the conventional advice you get is complete nonsense, right? So think about improving your personality. Right. Have a growth rather than fixed mindset. What else? What other advice do people get? Okay, let's look it up. Best. Wait, what is here? Yeah, all right. Best self advice, or best self improvement advice. Let's look at what platitudes you get. Making a deliberate decision to change and set specific goals for. Okay, making a deliberate to change. Okay, let's take this complete goyslop. Right, complete jargon. And remember, this is a satirical video. This is all jokes. I love the community guidelines, and I love Benjamin Netanyahu. So, specific goals for your personal growth. Well, sure. All right. Right, so these are 3 pieces of advice. Okay. What else? Plan ahead, say no. Set clear expectation. Embrace failure, enjoy the process. All right, let's try that. Embrace failure, enjoy the process. Right. Practice daily affirmations. What? This is complete nonsense. Prioritize self-care. Exercise, embrace and learn from mistakes. This is complete garbage. All of this is nonsense. Start now. Be accountable. Okay, let's do the cliche. Self-accountability. Right? Responsibility for your life. Okay, so okay, this is good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show how all of these normal tidbits of advice are complete nonsense. Okay, so let's begin with the concept of improving your personality. First of all, you have to understand that this is impossible. You cannot improve your personality. The only way, impossibility. The only way, the only way you could possibly change your personality is if you got a brain transplant. So let's see. So let's imagine this, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna be lying down on a hospital bed, okay? And then Dr. K, right? Dr. K or like whoever, I don't know. They're gonna need some kind of device, right? So they're gonna need some kind of device, and what they're gonna do, right? They're going to obliterate your skull, okay? And so they're gonna take a hammer, I don't know, maybe break your skull, and then like rip the brain out of your skull, right? And then you're gonna get a new brain, okay? So you're going to so someone else is gonna donate their brain to you. I don't know why they would agree, but sure, okay, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna have a brain transplant. Okay, so how do you improve your personality? By stop being yourself. So just I don't know, like just if next time you wake up, just break the laws of physics, right? So make your neurons teleport into different dimensions so that you think differently. Maybe you can try flying, right? So maybe if you jump, right, you're gonna be able to start floating midair, and like you're gonna end up like rotating around the earth, right? Maybe you can even like run faster than the speed of light. So let's try and do these impossible tasks, and that's how you improve your personality. No, look, this is nonsense, okay? There's no such thing. Your personality is based on your genetics and environmental influences. So let me erase all of this. How do I make the eraser bigger? Apparently I can't. Right, so your personality is determined by your by G plus E, right? It's entirely determined, or G times E, right? Same thing. And practically, right? Genes and environment. So your personality is determined by your genetic disposition and the environmental influences, right? This is just a tautology. It's impossible for this to be false, right? Because it's your genetic disposition and non-genetic influences, right, that impact your brain. So that's what determines your personality, and you can't change it. You can say, oh, I can change my environment. Like, I can't change my genes, at least not now, but I can change my environment. Well, your change of environment is dependent on prior causes, which is your prior genetic disposition and prior environmental experiences and influences. Even changing your genes would lead to the same problem. So you don't have any free will. You can't actually change your personality. And if your personality, sure, even let's say it's a changing variable, okay? The entire rate of change of your personality and the entire direction of change in your personality is predetermined by the laws of physics and the Big Bang. So if you want to improve the personality, you really need to get into a time machine and change the configurations of and the effects of the Big Bang itself. But even, of course, you entering a time machine would also be a predetermined event. So there's nothing you can do to really, quote unquote, improve your personality. What you can do is you can understand your personality. So a more accurate, so here's some more accurate advice, okay? Better advice, right? Is understand your personality and understand its range of possibilities, right? Possible outcomes. So what are the possible outcomes of your personality, and what does this mean? It means what kind of behaviors can you actually exhibit? Not everyone can run as fast as Usain Bolt. Not everyone is going to be as good at fighting as Mike Tyson. Not everyone is going to be as good at speaking as, I don't know, Tony Robbins, something like. But not everyone's going to be as intelligent at mathematics as Terrence Tao, right? Not everyone is going to be. Not everyone can be a doctor. Not everyone can be, talented at everything, right? So you have to understand your constraints, and just understanding is far more important than improvement, right? Because improvement, it's technically not possible, because you do not have free will. You do not have the ability to change your life. You do not have the ability to volitionally make choices that change the world, because reality, the entire universe, is just a set of specifications on a coordinate system. So reality is just a set of configurations that are immutable, right? And your experience is simply a part of an immutable script that's built into the universe, right? There's nothing you can do to change your script. So you simply have to understand your script. And ideally, you want to have a predictive model. You want to be able to predict what is going to happen in your script. Just like, if you are able to predict what's going to happen in a movie, right? You're not going to be as surprised, right? You got to be able to accept it better. And, you're not going to have perfect epistemology. You're not going to be able to perfectly predict everything happens in your life, but you should understand your life. Right, you should understand what your possibilities are and what you can do. And so, okay, let's think about having a growth rather than a fixed mindset. Right. This is nonsense. It's better to have a fixed mindset, because you actually can't change your life. Your life is a pre-written script. Your every experience that you have is going to happen. Right. There's nothing you can do to change it. Right. So, yeah, because your future is inevitable, right? Your future experiences are inevitable because your future already exists, because we exist in an ontological block universe where there's a fixed set of configurations, and that's everything in reality, right? And so your future already exists somewhere on the coordinate system. You just haven't experienced your future yet, but I assure you that there's nothing you can do to change your future. Otherwise, do you believe that a triangle can have 4 sides? Do you believe that a man without arms can throw a punch, right? Do you believe that 1 + 1 can equal 5, right? Do you believe that the same inputs can lead to different outputs? No, the same inputs must lead to the same outputs every time, right? Otherwise, look, if you want to be irrational and you don't think that the laws of physics is true, that's fine. That's a different argument entirely. And if you do think that there's free will, maybe because there's infinite possibility in the universe, you would have to explain what the mechanism is for free will. And if you can actually understand this and you're somehow able to activate it, then you're remarkable, right? You don't need to follow my advice, right? But if you do not have the intellectual capacity to delineate a metaphysical thesis for why free will exists and what is the nature of free will, how to obtain free will, then forget about a growth mindset, right? So like if you're not about that metaphysical life, if you're not about these abstract contemplations about, ontological and metaphysical structure, right? If you don't want to discern these difficult issues, then just don't think about it and instead have a fixed mindset, right? Having a fixed mindset is just a very good idea. It's the most reasonable idea, right? Making a deliberate decision to change your specific goals for your personal growth. First of all, personal growth does not exist because your entire life is a fixed it's a fixed identity on a coordinate map. Right, so there's no such thing as personal growth. So forget about this. Making a deliberate decision to change and set specific goals. No, you forget about this, right? Understanding. So what you should do is you should understand your life and what goals you will likely achieve. So because you don't have perfect knowledge of your future experiences, you might not know exactly, what goals you're going to achieve. But what you should do is you should understand your life so far and make a Bayesian inference model, right? Make a predictive model of what's going to happen next in your life, because you can't actually change what's going to happen in your life. You should make a predictive model. Like, If you spent 10 years studying medicine and you're very good at medicine and you can become a doctor, then it's very likely you'll become a doctor, right? Because that's why based on the empirical evidence of your life, that is what's most likely to happen, right? If for your entire life you were in special ed and you weren't able to complete your math classes or your English classes, and you're like 10 years behind everyone else in any learning, then maybe you shouldn't aim to go to Harvard, right? You need to be realistic. And it's not about, so when people say, set specific goals, aim for personal growth, have a growth mindset, improve your life. No, be realistic, okay? Understand. Rather than be ambitious, be epistemically sound, right? Embrace failure, enjoy the process. Yes, I would agree. You should try to enjoy the process. But if you enjoy your life, then there's no failure, right? You can fail every time. Everyone can hate you. You can enter every competition. You can lose, right? You can be a quote unquote loser from other people's perspective. But as long as you enjoy your life, I mean, that's more important. I mean, obviously, if you care about your experience, right? Remember, your mental energy is most important, right? How does your energy feel? How is your mind genuinely feeling fulfilled? Are you happy? Right. Enjoy the process. This is actually good advice. Because the only thing that is real, right? The only fact that you can know for certain, epistemologically speaking, is that something exists, and that something is your experience right now. Your subjective experience is all that you know for certain exists, right? So if you don't enjoy this moment, then how are you ever going to enjoy life, right? Because this is all that exists. This present moment is all that exists. Self-accountability, responsibility for no, you don't take. If you want something to be held accountable for your life, you need to hold the Big Bang accountable. You need to hold the laws of physics accountable, right? You can't take accountability or responsibility for your life because you don't choose your genetics nor the environment that you spawn within, right? You don't choose the exact movements of the Big Bang, right? You don't choose the evolutionary process that led to your present existence. So you don't actually, and you obviously can't choose the specific nature and the specific rule set which constructs the block universe, right? So the block universe can be one way, and there's nothing you can do to change any of the experiences or outcomes within the universe, right? And I think I said previously that something about delineating and understanding of free will. I'm not sure if that's even the correct way to say it. Let me check. Delineate. Am I using the word correctly? Draw or depict, describe or characterize in words. Establish a position of a border. Delineate. Describe or portray something with accurate detail. Delineate. Yeah, seems accurate. All right, so hopefully this self-advice video will help you a lot more. Remember, the most important thing is mental energy, right? Mental energy, right? Do not let other people harvest your mental energy. Preserve your mental energy. This is the gold standard of your experience. This is all you have at the end of the day. Your mental energy. Guard it with your life. Increase it if you can, right? Improve your health if you can, right? You can't choose it to improve your health, but if you can, ideally, right? Ideally, you want high mental energy. Ideally, you don't want other people to be parasites on your mental energy, right? Mental energy is all that matters. Anyways, hopefully this video was helpful, and hopefully that this video has a positive causal effect on your life, and that this video was something that made your life better rather than worse. Obviously, maybe it makes your life terrible. Maybe it makes you miserable, okay? I try my best, okay? All of my videos are for entertainment purposes, for satire, for comedy. I say this just so I don't get banned from community guidelines, because there's a lot of things you can't criticize, like, certain governments, like, for example, the Israeli government, like the IDF. Like, am I allowed to criticize it? If I say it's a joke, then yeah, probably. But if I seriously criticize certain people, then they'll probably ban me, right? So, anyways, I love Benjamin Netanyahu. I love the YouTube platform. Don't deplatform me, right? Or you can deplatform me, right? Whether or not, look, I'm not gonna blame you if you deplatform me, right? Because it's a predetermined outcome, right? So, anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.